Shabbat Shalom, my friends. Well, here we are together in the waning hours of the year 5782. Erev Rosh Hashanah 5783 is this Sunday evening. Our Sedra is NITZAVIM, Deuteronomy 29:9 and following. NITZAVIM, a relatively short Sedra that actually has had an enormous impact on how we Jews approach life. An impact so enormous that in many congregations, passages from this Sedra are actually read during services, morning services, Yom Kippur. But before we get to NITZAVIM, I'd like to offer a brief lesson in pathophysiology, a field concerning which I have absolutely no knowledge. The lesson popped out at me from a recent edition of Jewish Philanthropy, a daily must-read for all of us interested in Jewish life in America, Jewish life in the State of Israel. I then checked my facts with Google, a periodically infallible source of scientific insight. There really is something called the Anton-Babinski Syndrome. Anton-Babinski. This rare syndrome describes patients with a complete lack of self-awareness of their own severe blindness. Sufferers from this syndrome can be quite adamant and display clear evidence to the contrary, will insist that their vision is normal. These patients will then confabulate, create unreal memories by describing people or situations that simply are not present. Unfortunately, treatment protocols are not yet fully effective. The Jewish Philanthropy article connects this rare syndrome with these high holy days. Big surprise, you already know where I'm headed, right? Are there not people in our communities, including ourselves, who pretend not to see what they do not want to see? Do not such people adamantly ignore evidence that their understanding of current streams in our culture and our politics are simply wrong? They are blind to reality, and through confabulation, they will create a world far more to their liking. Okay, leave it alone. Enough of that. Though I will be musing upon Anton-Babinski Syndrome throughout this season of tshuva and of cheshbon hanefesh, repentance, and taking account of our own souls. Okay, the sand in the hourglass of Moses' life is running out. He is struggling to say all that he wants to say, knowing all the while that he can never succeed. His words here this week are soaring. The pathos that is consuming his soul, it's overwhelming and compelling. His message to us, unadorned and unequivocal. Listen to this. We are all in this together. No one of our people can be exempt from the obligations of covenant. The universe is filled with mysteries understood only by God. But trust that God's love is unshakable. Don't be overwhelmed by the demands of Torah. You can achieve them if such is your desire. The Torah is written for human beings, not angels. Don't forget that. The existential choice is placed in each of our hands. Choose the pathway to blessing. Choose God's love. Choose life. Choose the future. That's what our Sedra is about. The 15th century biblical commentator and philosopher Isaac Abarbanel experienced the constant disruptions and brutal impact of the struggles among various Muslim factions, as well as the bitter and bloody struggles between Muslims and Christians. Jews of Europe were time and again torn between the demands of faithfulness to the covenant and the desperate search for pathways to physical survival. Inquisition, expulsions, forced conversions. What if individual survival involved turning their backs on the covenant? What if survival involved public denial of the covenant? What if our Sedra's demand that the people should choose life is seen to be calling them away from preserving the covenant? While perhaps open to adopting public behaviors that could shield Jews, at least temporarily, from the horrors of their surroundings, Abravanel suggested that the demands of our Sedra, this Sedra, cannot and must not be ever set aside. He taught, willful assimilation denies the eternal nature of the ties between Israel and God, ties that were first established at Sinai. He reminded us of what our own eyes had seen. Remember, what our own eyes had actually seen over the centuries. He insisted that we are God's people, no matter what the circumstances of the day happened to be. Interestingly, contemporary reference, he also insisted that assimilation will never succeed in turning the hostility of the nations away from us. I could ask, does anything that Abravanel is teaching here resonate within our own lives? Lives in which, thank God, the threats of the Inquisition no longer exist. There's more. Our commentators will note the frequent appearance of the Hebrew root giving us the word shuv in chapter 30 of our Sedra. Interesting, isn't it? V'hashevota, and you shall take them to heart. V'shavta, and you shall return to God. V'shav et shavutecha, and God will restore you. V'shav, God will return you. V'shav, and God will bring your scattered remnants together. All told, in this Sedra, there are 7 references, uses of the root of the word shav, shuv. 7 references, by the way, in 7 verses in our Sedra. 7 references to shuv in this Sedra, which immediately precedes Rosh Hashanah. 7 references to the word, the root that gives us teshuvah, a word that we translate as repentance. Teshuvah, shav, v'shavta. An accident? A coincidence? Maybe. Maybe not. Now, a lot of stuff out there. Let's try to put the pieces of today's conversation together. They actually fit. First, even without a rare affliction, we can and do ignore reality. In fact, we can and do make up our own convincing version of reality just so that we can avoid facing the truth. That's number one. Second, in fact, we are in this together. The choices made by some of us will affect all of us. Only by choosing life can we choose how we will shape not just our personal individual future, our collective future. Third, the covenant is not a mere option. Covenant is the irreducible core of what it means to be a Jew. We are Jews. And that means part of our self-definition is that we are bound in obligations to our past, to our people, to our future, to whatever we mean when we speak of God. Fourth and final, our lives provide us with the opportunity for teshuvah. You want to use a modern translation for teshuvah? Rebooting. For fixing and restoring how we have lived so that we can keep trying to do better every day that remains to us. Techale Shana uklaloteha, techel Shana uvirchoteha. May the new year now ending with all of its challenges, with so many moments of our stumbling with our self-imposed blindness, may that new year now come to an end. Old year, come to an end. Let the new year, let the new year now begin. A year filled with blessings, with hope, with personal growth, with meaningful relationships. I look forward to being with you throughout this coming year and for many years to come. L'Shana Tova Tikatevu. May you, may we, may all of us be inscribed in the book of life for a good year. Shabbat Shalom.